animal in the reference photo. A little bit of dry brush now, overlaying the first layer of purple. So this is the equivalent for me of a cross-hatching technique you might see people do with a pencil or a biro, where you do a series of diagonal lines in one direction and then you go over them again with a series of diagonal lines in another direction. You can build up areas of tone. And I like to use that technique with a brush where I drag very lightly one colour over the top of another, and that gives you some nice mixing of tone and hues as well. So you see me diving off camera there down to the floor. What I've done is I've actually set my laptop that's displaying the photo down low, so I'm just adjusting that, zooming in or zooming out or something. Moving up to the antlers now, I'm using that same orange colour to pick out little sections, just where the light is catching and creating a certain colour. So I'm probably mixing some paint now. I think I thought I'd taken out most of the pauses in the video when there was not much action, but actually that little pause there when nothing was happening is quite representative of how I paint. So having worked on the animal for a bit, I will take a minute or two and just step back, look at things, consider how it's going, and how little do I need to do to bring this painting to a conclusion. Which perhaps sounds kind of lazy, but it's more about trying to be efficient, I hope. So what I'm doing now is I've taken a mixture of the ultramarine blue and titanium white, and there are some areas of pale skin and fur on this deer, and when they're in shadow, although they're probably close to being white in reality, when they are in shadow they look a pale blue, and those are the areas I'm picking out now. And then there are sort of these lozenge-shaped dots across the back and the hind quarters of the deer. And so I'm using that same blue to begin to indicate those. But I'm not trying to put down every single dot that the animal actually has, just picking out a few. And I was quite careful about how I orientated those dots on the surface of the animal. So I've tried to help create a sense of 3 dimensions by angling the dots at the appropriate angle as they move over the hip and hind quarters of the deer. And now currently continuing with that same colour down on the legs, just picking out highlighted areas. So my brush is now loaded with pure titanium white. So I'm now just putting on little touches where things are at their absolute brightest. And again, even though the movements are quite quick, the direction of the brush stroke is quite deliberate. So for example, on that hind leg I just did, I went from right to left rather than from top to bottom. And using the white again, just pop in a couple of little touches on the antlers where the light is really catching. And now, I want this painting to have a loose feel, and obviously the colours aren't going to be completely realistic at all. But at the same time, I feel the structure of the head needs to be a little more refined to make the animal more convincing.